Good afternoon, everyone. Black Lives Matter is a movement that has impacted lives worldwide. Established back in 2013 by founders Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi, its main purpose is to combat police brutality against black men and women while also seeking justice for those who have been affected. I'm Ariana Glover, and you're watching The Truth. Today, we'll focus on the impact of the Black Lives Matter movement on society. The movement was created after the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the fatal shooting of African-American teen Trayvon Martin. However, it wasn't until the brutal murders of Michael Brown and Eric Garner when support for the movement grew tremendously. With the help of social media, the movement reached national awareness due to the protests and unrest in Ferguson, Missouri in August 2014. Currently, there are 23 Black Lives Matter chapters worldwide, including the United States, Canada, and Ghana. Today, to better understand this issue, we'll talk with Dr. Ennis, who is an African American Studies professor at Delaware State University. He is well known as a very inspirational instructor who motivates and informs his students on the current issues within society and the black community. Later on during the show, a student panel made up of both All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter supporters will join our discussion to give some insight on the different movements and what they stand for. Throughout the show, some of DSU's very own spoken word artists will join us and deliver heartfelt performances. We're going to start by talking to Dr. Ennis about the Black Lives Matter movement and its impact on his viewpoints. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate you taking your time to come out and speak with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you already know about the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yes, basically, you've recapitulated everything that I know about it, how it started, its genesis. But actually, if you think about it more analytically and from a historical standpoint, it's part of a ongoing movement that has never ceased, really, since we've been in this country, and certainly since the end of slavery in the post-bellum South, coming up to the Great Migration going into the North. There have been many incidents that have caused just regular African American people, and also some of the leaders at that time, to have to take action, concerted action, in order to deal with these tragic injustices that have been hurled against us.
How does what's going on now affect the style that you teach in and what you teach?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's a good question. First of all, I teach in two areas. I teach a language spoken in Eastern and Central Africa called Kiswahili, Swahili for other people, and also African literature and African American literature. So this is within my beat, so to speak. It has had an impact on me personally. I don't know if it has directly influenced my teaching style, but perhaps if I think about it for a while, I might see some areas where I have made some adjustments according to some of the things that have taken place in the Black Lives Movement.
How do you think the movement of today compares to the civil rights movement of the past?
Well, both were confrontational. The civil rights movement was not an armchair movement. It was a movement of galvanizing masses of people, initially people of color, and then it became a more diverse crowd of people who were involved in trying to secure our legal civil rights. The Black Lives Movement may be a little bit different in that, even though there are those leaders that you had just mentioned, in essence, it's like an acephalous, headless movement. There are people, I don't think there's one person that everybody looks to for direction. So the local chapters deal with local situations, but within the framework of this idea that Black lives matter.
Do you feel as though we would be coming across more change if there were one or two influential leaders? Like in the past there was Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and today we don't really have a strong leader of our generation. Do you feel as though that's necessary or now?
Necessary, I don't know. Would it help? Probably. If you had not only a strong, but a visionary leader who was also charismatic, somebody that could excite the imaginations and passions of people and lead them in a direction that would help them to achieve their goals. It might help.
You also mentioned how the civil rights movement became a little bit more diverse towards the end. And today we have both the Black Lives Matter movement and the All Lives Matter movement. Do you feel as though one is better than the other, or one is needed more than the other?
No. First of all, about the civil rights movement. Actually, if you think about it, its very genesis was biracial. When Du Bois started the Niagara movement, and then that morphed into the NAACP, it was most of the leaders at that time were Caucasian. So that's the first thing. The second thing is about the Black Lives movement versus the All Lives Matter. Well, obviously, no one is saying that all lives don't matter. Black Lives Matter does not mean that other people's lives do not matter. To give an analogy, at the apogee of the Ebola epidemic in West Africa, just imagine if there was a conference called to address some of these issues with this almost a pandemic by that time. And everybody is at this symposium, at this conference, they're prepared to discuss about Ebola. Suppose someone said, well, wait a minute, there are other diseases. We have malaria and dengue and stuff. We're not saying that these diseases aren't just as important. But right now, we're here talking about Ebola. So by comparison, Black Lives Matter, we're dealing with Black lives. We're dealing with a situation that is occurring contemporaneously. We're not talking in the abstract. Maybe in hindsight, if the movement had been termed Black Lives Matter also, or Black Lives Matter too, perhaps people would have had less of an opposition to it, thinking that it means that other lives don't matter. Of course they do, but that's not what we're talking about now.
Very well said. There are some who believe that what we need right now is a reform of the system, while others feel as though the system was never built to serve African Americans, so a reform would be pointless. What is your stance on the matter?
Well, you want me to be practical or idealistic?
Both if you'd like.
If it's idealistic, yeah, you're right. The system really was not, from its inception, geared to service us. Okay, so that would mean you need a new system. Being practical, however, if you're going to do something like that, you would have to move out of this country and go someplace else, because the system itself is not going to let you formulate another system within it. You'll be constantly at loggerheads. So what you have to do is to try, as far as is possible, to ameliorate the situation by changing parts of the system that are most inimical to us as people. So you tweak it.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining today. I definitely learned a lot, and I hope that our viewers did as well. If there's any time that you can come back and speak to us, we would really appreciate it.
It'd be my pleasure. Just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, next up, we're going to have a few spoken word artists from Delaware State University. So please stay tuned.
Warning, just because these drugs aren't illegal doesn't mean they can't be just as harmful.
You back already?
Yeah, what took like 5 minutes?
You got what we need?
Yeah, I got it.
Alright.
Oh, so you about to party? Yeah, man, you going, right?
I thought you went till 7.
So I got something before.
Oh, all right, pregame for the
Man,
pregame.
take one of them.
I'm gonna take 2.
All right, sweet.
Careless or inappropriate use is taking a prescription drug more than directed or taking one that wasn't prescribed to you. The effects of abusing can lead to heart problems, high blood pressure, lack of body control, impaired judgment, excessive drowsiness, and dependency or addiction. For additional information, see www.drugabuse.gov or call 888-338-6517 for a recovery counselor for your addiction.
Welcome back to The Truth. At this time, we're going to be enlightened by some of DSU's very own spoken word artists. Please welcome Akila McCrary.
Hello, my name is Akila McCrary, and this piece I am doing is entitled, We Are in Need of a Change. By what I'm about to tell you, it's okay to be afraid. But black brothers and sisters, we are still their slaves. America, land of the brave and land of the free, but are we really free? We never come together in unity. We are killing each other in the streets, working 9 to 5 just to be able to get something to eat and sleep at night comfortably, then repeat. The only thing we know is alcohol or weed, or at least that is how we are perceived, because we never reached to achieve, you see. Willie Lynch wrote a letter in 1712, how to keep a slave for 300 years, and it worked out itself, to turn the young against the old, the male against the female, the light against the dark based on shade. And everyone's repping team light skin or dark skin like that stuff isn't played. There is hate and jealousy in our race. We haven't gone astray because we are stuck in our ways. We are letting them win by keeping things the way they've always been. And I'm no Martin Luther King, but I too have a dream. So when I speak, listen. We are set up by the system and systematic visions. 1 out of 3 black men are in prison, and the curriculum in black schools lack intellectualism. In addition, we are always in competition with one another. But all the whites, Mexican, and Chinese do is help each other. They come over to America to start businesses, and we're worried about cars, shoes, and clothes to make appearances. This principle is beginning to get a little sickening. When will we rise to be superior like the Great Lakes, drown and demolish every obstacle in our way? So I'll leave this with everyone to say we are in need of a change. So let's start today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kamar Rice, and my piece is called Dear White America. Dear White America, can I talk my stuff? I mean, it's not like you're going to listen anyway, because I'm just a minority that defies the authority that was never built for me, so you can go and ignore me. Estimado Blanco Norte America. You think this is a game, huh? You think I'm playing? Oh, I get it. You think this is something new. No, young ignorant one. This ain't nothing new. This has been going on for the last 400 plus years. The only difference is now we're not staying quiet about it. Here goes another black person raving about racism. You all just need to understand that sometimes bad things happen. Everything is not always a racial issue, you know. I mean, I do feel bad, but we have to treat this like a regular crime. Careful, your white privilege is showing. Because for me to treat these bad instances as a regular crime, I would have to acknowledge the white young boy that was gunned down while walking from the store, or the white girl that was killed while getting pulled over for a taillight, or the white young girl that was throwing them pinned to the ground while wearing nothing but a 2-piece bathing suit at a graduation party. So when you find the families of those victims, let me know. Chez Amerique Blonde. Your justice system is corrupt. But I mean, then again, that wasn't built for me either, so I should expect that. From your police, always being in fear of their life. Honestly, I'm trying to understand how one is always in fear of their life while wearing a bulletproof vest and possessing a gun, but I digress. Your thugs, officers, have a weird way of arresting people, because to arrest a white young girl for committing a mass murder in a church, y'all get a bulletproof vest for her and carry her out in an orderly fashion. And let's not even talk about if the trial goes to a trial or anything of that nature, because she's just mentally disturbed, right? Because bad things just happen. And in June, white America. I don't know what y'all want me to do. You tell me I can't wear a hoodie at night, Trayvon. You tell me I'm not allowed to breathe, Eric. You tell me I can't celebrate New Year's on a train, Oscar. I tell you don't shoot. You do it anyway, Michael. And now you tell me I can't even go to the church to pray to my own God, Charleston. It's funny because as I'm writing this, I'm looking up ways to say Dear White America in languages we understand, and it's no coincidence that Swahili and Haitian Creole French spell America with a K, and you wonder why I scream Black Lives Matter. Don't tell me all lives matter. Don't get offended when I say Black Lives Matter, because all lives do matter, but right now we focus on the black ones, fam. Am I wrong? Dear White America, am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? And am I wrong for waking up every day wishing to see some peace? And am I wrong for worrying about if my brothers can breathe? But that's just how I feel. Dear white America, I'm tired. P.S. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And at this time on The Truth, we're going to welcome back Akili McCrary. I just want to give a heartfelt thank you. Those were very powerful pieces and really inspired us. So you guys are welcome back anytime, and I hope that you guys enjoyed yourself as much as we enjoyed having you here.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. Had fun.
Next up on The Truth, we'll have a student panel discussion, so please stay tuned. Thank you so much.
21.8 million people in the United States 12 and older use some type of illicit drug, and 47.2 million of the United States people are considered alcoholics. Do these people fit your stereotype? For more information, go to www.drugabuse.gov or call Drug Abuse Hotline 1-800-HELP.
Welcome back to The Truth. Joining us now to discuss the Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter movements are DSU students Kyle Shepard, Asha Moses, Aishana Jackson, and Dominic Vincent. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us today. At this time, can you guys basically say what movement you're a supporter of and why?
Well, I'm a supporter of All Lives Matter because irrespective of the fact that, of course, Black lives do matter, but in my own experiences with different people from around the world, different races and things like that, I've grown to befriend people of different races. So if that person was I had a friend in high school who got shot, who got robbed, he was Hispanic. So of course his life matters to me because that's one of my friends. It's like you can't be one track minded about a thing like this because we're all on this earth as all God's people.
Well, I am a supporter of All Lives Matter. I would like to start by stating my understanding of Black Lives Matter, of the organization. It is a movement that aims to advocate for the validity of Black lives. That's my understanding of it. And I am not against Black Lives Matter. I am simply for All Lives Matter, including Black lives. And the validity of all lives, people regardless of color or race, that matters. So it's important that in advocating for Black lives, we not forget that there are other races in the world. So to me, all lives matter. And simply because I am not, a fully African American, I am not fully Black. So other parts of my family, their lives matter as well. And I think it's important not that we single out one race. And I know that Black Lives Matter doesn't mean only Black lives. It's just that that's the most prevalent issue at the moment, but it's not. Well, that's the idea that it's the most prevalent issue or the most, attacked race, when it's not. It's just that we're getting the most media at the moment, Black lives. So I think that all lives matter, including Black lives, and that is.
Well, I am an advocate for Black Lives Matter because although, of course, all lives do matter, but right now the focus and the negative attention is on Black lives. The problem is when you don't focus on only one race at the time, or you make such a broad spectrum of causes, you kind of lose sight and you don't focus. With Black Lives Matter, we're not saying, oh, we only are talking about us right now. We have a certain set of statistics, a certain set of objectives that we as Black people want for ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that Hispanic lives aren't in jeopardy, Asian lives aren't in jeopardy, Native American lives aren't in jeopardy, but there's different movements for different things. When you have a movement for, let's say we have a walk for cancer, for breast cancer, you don't go, well, what about lung cancer? Because that's like, okay, well, right now we're talking about breast cancer because that's what this specific movement is about, and that's what we're trying to cause, trying to cure. So like, if you go off on saying, well, what about all of them, but you don't get to the root of the problem with just one cause. And we're not saying we can't support our Hispanic brothers or our Asian brothers, but right now, we're in solidarity for us to make sure that we, in our validation, is taken care of.
Myself, I would say that I'm also a Black Lives Matter supporter. Being as though a Black Lives Matter supporter does not mean not against or not for All Lives Matter. The problem that I have with All Lives Matter is the fact that when you start to address things collectively, as they spoke on, there are certain demographics and populations that get underrepresented. Within this campus, I am a member of the Men of Color Alliance. That doesn't mean I'm against women. That doesn't mean I'm anti-women. That doesn't mean I forget about women's issues. I'm also a women's and gender studies minor. So just because you want to represent and centralize or focus your area of interest or what's passionate for you does not mean that you do not care about or do not want to speak about or are not affected by the rest of these demographics. And I think the reason why Black Lives Matter is important is because a lot of times we get lost, as Asha said, when certain things and certain conversations are being spoken within the demographics of the world, from a world's perspective, as he said. A lot of us sometimes get lost underneath of that, and I think that's unfortunate, and that's why we advocate so strongly for ourselves. But as we said, that doesn't mean we're anti. In fact, being a Black Lives supporter further engages you in all lives, because if you're truly inclusive, then you're a part of that same demographic.
During this question, Aishana mentioned that she was a supporter of All Lives Matter, including Black Lives. So do you all believe that the All Lives Matter movement alone includes Black lives, or do you feel like it needs to be added on, like all lives and Black lives? If you know what I'm saying?
I mean, when you talk about lives, if you say, well, all lives and Black lives, well, of course, well, that's what the all means. You don't have to add that part. But the thing is, the reason why I feel as though it should be Black lives is because when you say all lives, that can mean so many different things. And just like, let's say you were doing a paper, you can't take topics on topics on topics because you're going to get lost and you're not going to get the focal point. And the problem is that when you do that, you lose focus. But when you focus on one specific topic and you hone that topic and you really strive for that one cause, you can get a lot more work done. So if my Hispanic brothers and sisters want to start a Hispanic Lives Matter, something in that nature, in that category, I applaud them because they're thinking about, okay, how can we make our community better? Because no one understands Hispanic lives like Hispanic lives. No one understands Black lives like Black lives.
With myself, I mean, I think you don't necessarily need to be included and no, they shouldn't feel the need to be separate. But I mean, issues come to my mind in terms of what she used talking about cancer. That is one of the, easiest examples to say that you're not necessarily forgetting about other diseases that are taking place. But I think from a historical context, it's interesting to note that whenever you have something that is pro and attaching Black people to the end of that, whether it's pro-Black, then there's negative connotations that come with that when people automatically start categorizing or associating negative things. If you think about white power and what that means and what that looks like, then you associate Black power to it. People think that just because you're advocating so strongly for something, that there has to be something negative with that. And I do think that's like a media standpoint or a propaganda standpoint. It's the same thing as Black girls rock or Black girls are magic. You're not going out here saying all girls don't matter, all women don't matter, but can't we focus on what we identify with, if that's okay? Being as though when we talk about the whole, as we said, a lot of demographics get underrepresented. So, if it won't hurt, I don't see what necessarily the issue is to claim something. It's just interesting that the problem comes in that when people automatically start combating something that's pro at the end of the day. If you're truly supporting it, then you would expect their hand to be in that as well.
Like I said before, I'm not against Black lives. I'm actually for Black lives. I just, personal standpoint, I am not all African American. My grandfather is Irish, pure white Irish. So and I feel like we all have pieces from us that we may not, some may not, some may. But I know for me, I am not all Black. So if I can't be on my focal point, you know, in myself, on one side, all, you know, Black Lives Matter, and just be Black Lives because I'm not just black. So, to me, it's okay to say Black Lives Matter, but we must not forget that all lives matter. And the point they made about, you know, sometimes we can get lost in, you know, if we say all lives matter, we can also get lost if we just focused on one point. We can forget about others, and I'm just about, you know, everyone, humanism rather than.
Just to piggyback on what she said, you know, we just focus on, like what I said earlier about, you know, on the world, like, you know, different third world countries, they're probably, you know, whatever their circumstances are, because I know it has to be much worse than ours, you know, here in America. So I feel as though, you know, we should have that mindset to think about, oh, what about this other race? What about that other race? Because they're probably thinking like, oh, okay, you know, Black Lives Matter, but what we're going through over here, I feel like, you know, it should be all lives matter. Put it all under that one group and category.
Earlier in the discussion, Kyle mentioned negative connotations. And something I've noticed is that in the media, in comparison to other movements and other protests, the Black Lives Matter protests always get such negative attention and they're seen as violent and aggressive. Why do you guys think that that is?
I think that it is because white America was not ready for such a radical statement made, such a radical movement. And I don't think that Black Lives Matter is negative, you know. I think that they just weren't prepared. You know, like she said, you know, black people are finally standing up and speaking up. So no one was ready for that. And not that we haven't spoken up before, because then you wouldn't have your Malcolm X's and your Martin Luther Kings, and, you know. But I just think that that's the reason. And also, I think because of certain perceptions or certain way not everyone in Black Lives Matter is positive, and that's just the reality of it, you know. So maybe those negative people bring the negative connotation, you know. And it's just a point that I wanted to make. Please don't take this the wrong way. Hypocrisy is preaching against discrimination and racism, then turning it around and committing it against other races. Now, not saying that not saying that Black Lives Matter is committing discrimination or racism, but that's what some people perceive it as, you know, not just white America. I read an article earlier today that Latinos are, you know, they're being offended by Black Lives Matter because Latinos aren't getting as much media, as much press, and there have been numerous, you know, police brutality against Latinos. So I think that's where the negative connotation can come in as well.
I would like to say that, you know, with them saying that, you know, that it's violent, you know, it's, you know, very intense. If you think back, you know, back in the 60s, some of the same things that are happening back then, with those situations starting to happen now, like what happened in Baltimore last year. Seeing how, you know, everybody, you know, was looting, you know, people were running around in the streets, you know, people were angry. Of course, they would, you know, they would see it that way from, you know, the outside looking in, but it's just the act of, I say it's just that act, you know, it's just the first rate action, you know, like she said, they weren't ready for that. They, you know, they're not used to us, you know, coming back like, you know, like it was back, you know, when our ancestors had to go through, you know, our grandparents had to go through it. So I feel like as though they thinking that, I can't think of the word right now, but they're thinking that we're not gonna, you know, lash back or retaliate, not retaliate, but, you know, speak our mind on what's going on today as a people.
I think when you look at, if you look at different media sites, the way they twist words and the way they take footage and take camera shots is very different with different uprisings and different movements and protests. They'll, for a black protest or for a protest advocating for Black lives, you'll see people, you know, looking violent rather than looking angry and passionate, which is what, you know, we are, which is you have a right to be angry, you have a right to be passionate about, you know, what you feel and what injustice has come to you and your people. And I think, you know, the language in the media, whoever's writing the piece, whoever the broadcasting company is, they, you know, change the language around. If you notice, I watched a video, white riots when they lose a football game, whatever team it is, pumpkin patch like festivals, they go crazy burning cars and stuff for a game, for a festival. But we're talking about our lives on the line. It's like, oh, their, you know, riots have broke out, blah, blah, blah. But they're talking about, oh, a festival, ha, 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 crazy kids having fun. So it's the way that their languages and the way that they take footage and the way that they, you know, communicate with the public. And I agree sometimes, you know, other races don't get their due justice when it comes to media coverage. That doesn't change my opinion about Black lives, but I do understand that the media does not do a very good job in representing race of any kind. The default race with anything, if you look on commercials, movies, television, the default race is white, unfortunately, at this day and age in 2015. And so when you get anything else like that, hey, this is someone of another race, or hey, this is what they did, is very blatant. And if you listen to the language, you can see that.
Okay, well, I want to thank you guys for coming out and sharing your viewpoints and being respectful about it and explaining it so that our viewers can really get a better understanding. You guys as well are always welcome on The Truth. We definitely appreciate you having here. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for The Truth today. Make sure you tune in next time as we continue the discussion on Black lives.